How you guys doing? And thanks for tuning in to Wicked Warnings, your #1 source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment. For cars, vans, buses, bicycles, tricycles, and everything in between, like this brand new 2023 SUPERDUTY F-250. Now this model happens to be a beautiful XLT model, which has mid-level taillights and the LED headlights, as you can see here. What we're running on this, I'll be quick and then go into all the details after. Our plug-and-play DRL flasher for the headlight C-rings, as you can see. Inside of that, we have some 3-inch amber white mpowers on a simple-to-duplicate flat stock bracket made to seat the lights behind the grille. They're not actually attached to the grille, they're behind it. Around the back of this truck, we went with a plug-and-play middle-level tail reverse auto flasher kit. Now you must have mid-level tails for this, not the base level tails with light bulb in the reverse, and not the platinum level tails that will have a amber illuminated turn signal. This is a mid-level tail required to have that auto flasher kit. And below that, 3-inch mpowers in amber, set in unison, but you could alternate them just as easy, mounted vertically right there on the bumper step with no bracket needed. That's going to be the whole package. I'm going to go back around the front and start talking a little bit more about the details. So out front here, we've got 2 mpower 3-inch in amber white. You could change them to only amber if you like. And you could also upsize that to 4 if you wanted, but I stick with the 3 because it works the best with this particular grille, which is that honeycomb grille found on many of the trim lines, including this XLT. Now, we made a bracket behind there. Details will follow at the end of the video about that bracket, but it's super simple aluminum flat stock. You can source locally at Home Depot and make up. Very easy to do. We're not going to make that bracket up here. You're going to have to make that on your own, but it's very easy. Now, outside of that, you can see the C-rings flashing and our auto flasher plug-and-play kit. That installs very easily by lowering down the inner fender liner right behind the bumper and above the tire on each side to access the headlight plugs. Fair warning, the driver's side headlight plug is a little tricky to find, but it is there behind the main harness. Our plug-and-play Wicked Warnings auto flasher module will plug in between the factory headlight and its harness on each side, and it is easily ran right to the auxiliary switch power box, which is on the passenger side inner fender liner. If you don't have auxiliary switches, the kit does have enough wire to run forward and through the firewall to your aftermarket switch mounted somewhere in the cabin of the truck. Now the DRL kit is going to come with everything you need to wire it, and those 2 3-inch mpowers, we're going to put 30 feet of 22-5 in there as well, and that way you have enough to extend them both into the cabin if you have an aftermarket switch, as well as extending them over to the factory auxiliary switches. Now you have a little extra, obviously, if you have factory auxiliary switches, but it's only 22-5 wire, and you'll be able to use it in other places. It's good to have around. Now, out back of this truck, we've got a plug-and-play reverse middle-level auto flasher for those reverse lights on the mid-level tails, which happen to be LED. That's going to come with everything you need. It's going to have an 18.5. It's going to run right up the passenger side frame and pop up the passenger side inner fender right underneath the hood to the auxiliary switch box right there where you'll make your connections. Now that is the same kind of module as in the front, so you will have a connection between the factory tail light on the driver's side and our module that you will run from the passenger side over. Now this is all pre-wired for you. You just need to mount the module on the passenger side tail light harness behind it. Of course, intercept that passenger tail light harness with the passenger side and the driver's as well, and that allows you to do this. Now you don't lose any factory function for these lights, so don't worry about that. Your headlights and reverse lights are also going to work perfectly normal, so there's no problem with that as far as losing any function. Now below that, this package contains amber mpower 3s. But you could change them to white if you wanted, or amber white, or any other color special order. But if you were going to do that, you would need a 5-conductor wire to take advantage of the flood. So we're going to give you 18.5 to run these mpower lights. I'm going to give you 2 lengths because these are the lengths that we pre-cut that we have on hand. One 30-foot, one 15. The 30-foot is going to go from your auxiliary switches down the passenger frame right to the passenger light. Then we're going to jump from that with the 15-foot over to the driver's side. Now, you might have a little bit of 18.5 extra. That'll be just fine. It's good to have around. That's how we're going to make this connection. That way you can synchronize them for an alternate flash pattern. As you can see here, I have them set up to simultaneously flash and alternated the reverse lights. You can set this any way you like pretty much, but fair warning, the auto flasher modules do not sync with the mpowers. They're different languages, so you can pick a pattern on the auto flasher and a pattern set for the mpowers, but they're not going to jive together on the exact same pattern. They also have different pattern sets. So Below that, if you went and took advantage of the amber white, you could upgrade to that. Then you'd have the 18.5 to do the flood and all of that. But you can also alternate those lights on the bumper and set them up any way you want with all the available flash patterns. The 18.5 gives you full control. That's why we're putting it in there. You're going to get an accessory kit as well with this particular package, and we're going to put a fuse kit in there too, because even though it's ran on the factory switches, switch 1 for instance on this one, I do believe it's a good idea to put another fuse, waterproof fuse holder right there to not only extend switch 1 wiring, which you'll find is kind of short from the factory, but to also allow you to fuse it down. This particular system right now running just fine on a 10 amp fuse, has a much lower load than that. You could probably even go with a 5 amp and it would be fine. We put a 10 amp in and it's going to be just fine and happy like that. So I hope I've covered everything. If you like this system, feel free to replicate it. There are going to be some more details at the end here after I'm done talking, and if I missed anything, please let us know. We'll modify the video. And again, thanks for tuning in to Wicked Warnings, your #1 source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment for cars, vans, buses, bicycles, tricycles, and very nice white XLT Super Duty F-250s like you're seeing here. Again, any questions, reach out to us before, preferably by email, with some details on your vehicle so we can confirm or deny the fitment. And we'll talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.